If you want access to my entire library of past webinars, as well as access to future ones, head over to daringventuresathome.com or click the link in the description below. What is empathy? This is going to be a really complicated definition that we will then spend the next, many minutes unpacking together. So let's talk about what empathy is not. Okay, if you know me, follow me, you know that I always start definitions with anti-definitions. So empathy is not agreement. I think this is critical. I can empathize with someone. That doesn't mean I endorse their thinking, their viewpoint, their belief system. Empathy is not fixing problems. It doesn't require that there's a fix or a solution. Empathy is not one-sided. When there has been betrayal, there may be a moment of time, a period of time in which empathy feels very one-sided. But long-term, one-sided empathy is not sustainable. Empathy is not intrusive. Okay, so empathy doesn't mean I make you tell me more than you want to share. Empathy doesn't mean I'm going to butt my way into your experience, into your feelings, into your emotions. Empathy should be respectful, always, of the other person's experience, emotions, and boundaries. Empathy is not meant to be overwhelming. We're going to talk about how sometimes it can be experienced as overwhelming, but it's not meant to be overwhelming. So empathy doesn't mean I have to melt into a puddle. Empathy is not mind reading. I've worked, unfortunately, with some betrayed partners who don't want to share their pain, but do want their partners who betrayed them to understand and feel it. And unfortunately, human beings are not mind readers. Empathy is not unconditional support. Because I have empathy for someone doesn't mean I condone what they're doing. This is really important when it comes to betrayed partners. At some point, when they're able and capable of doing it, having empathy for the experience of addicts, which I've seen happen many times, and many betrayed partners have said they've wanted to reach that place. Empathy is not limited to negative emotions. So empathy isn't just around pain, right? Or sadness or loss or grief. Empathy can also be around the experience of joy and love and passion and excitement and those as well. Empathy is not a rare gift. It's not like there are some really gifted people out there in the world who have empathy, and the rest of us we just have empathic crumbs to offer. That is simply not true. The research does not bear that out. Lastly, empathy is not sympathy. Now, we're going to park on this one for a while because this is a huge subject that's out there. All right, so sympathy is a compassionate response where one feels concern or sorrow for another's suffering, driven by cognitive recognition of distress rather than shared emotional experience. I feel sorry, I feel sadness, I feel compassion, I feel pity. Some people don't like that word, and there are times when pity is not real helpful. Sympathy is what I feel for someone. It's more than just perspective taking. It's more than understanding why they're suffering. It's an emotional response I have to the knowledge that they're suffering, to the knowledge that they're upset, that they're angry, that they're grieving, that they're hurt. So compared to empathy, I would put it this way. Empathy is the capacity to feel as another person does. So someone's feeling this thing and I'm now feeling it with them. Sympathy is feeling concern for someone who is feeling something else. So that's the basic distinction there. So empathy is the psychological capacity to tune into and share another person's emotional state, facilitated by neural mechanisms such as the mirror neuron system and regions like the anterior insula and anterior cingulate cortex. It encompasses both affective sharing, directly feeling an emotion that mirrors another's, and cognitive empathy, understanding their emotional perspective. This dual process, so the dual process includes affective sharing and cognitive empathy. This dual process enables individuals to regulate their own emotions in response to others, promoting social connection and emotional well-being. Let me give you a more simple definition. Empathy is the capacity to understand and share another person's feelings, bridging emotional experiences and allowing for the exchange of emotions. I stole that phrase, exchanging emotions, from my colleague and my teammate, Dr. Wendell Gill. Many of you are familiar with Dr. Gill and his work. And I love that idea of we're exchanging emotions. I have this emotion, I hand it to you. You hold my emotion, you give it back to me. Then you pull out your emotion and hand it to me, and I hold your emotion and give it back to you. This exchange of emotion, and it involves both an understanding component and a sharing component, and it creates a bridge between the two of us. It's absolutely critical that empathy is onboarded to repair ruptures after betrayal. Why? Well, there are several reasons why. I'm not going to list them all. Empathy allows individuals to understand and share the feelings of their partners, creating a bridge over the emotional gap caused by betrayal. This shared emotional understanding is the first step toward rebuilding trust and connection. So there's an emotional gap. Usually, there are always outliers, okay? But usually, initially after the discovery of betrayal, the emotions being experienced by each person are very, very different. And when the emotions are so different, the feeling states are very, very different. And as feeling states are different, people have a hard time connecting. And this is important, like I say here in this slide, toward rebuilding trust and connection. So let me talk about that. If you betrayed me, even if I believe that you love me, if I don't believe you understand how you hurt me and the depth of hurt I have, I'm not going to trust you again. But if I do believe that you love me, and I think you have some grasp of the depth of my hurt, why are there balloons going up? I have no idea why that happened. And you have some grasp of the depth of my hurt. Now that is the basis. That could lead to some initial reason for trust. Empathy facilitates genuine apology, amends, and forgiveness. When you recognize a partner's pain and suffering, that can, through empathy, when I actually feel it, understand and feel it with them, that can lead to true remorse and apology from the betrayer, as well as change behavior. There's the amends piece. And those are critical for the healing process, that there is remorse, that the one who did the betraying is demonstrating, yes, I am sorry that I did this. I have remorse. I have genuine remorse. Similarly, empathy from the betrayed partner can make forgiveness more accessible. So later in the process, I'm not talking about right up front. I never try to encourage empathy from the betrayed to the betrayer initially, but later on, empathy just meaning understanding the emotional experience. This is part of intimacy, knowing and being known. That can lead to forgiveness. Empathy reduces defensive reactions. So betrayal often triggers defensive responses like blame, minimization, denial, those sorts of things. Empathy helps in lowering these defenses and enables both partners to engage in open and honest communication about feelings and needs and concerns. That's absolutely vital for healing and rebuilding trust. So once the betrayer begins to feel empathy for the betrayed, defensive reactions tend to go down. Empathy promotes emotional healing. So by fostering a deeper understanding and validation of the other's emotional experiences, empathy aids in the emotional healing process. We know that there is something about the experience of empathy. When I feel felt by the other person, it does something. It's like a balm to that wound, and it does facilitate healing around the trauma. Empathy strengthens the relationship foundation. Relationships in general in which there is more empathy have a stronger foundation. When empathy can be built up after betrayal, it can lead to enhanced emotional intimacy and resilience. And so couples who attend to the need for empathy are much likely to emerge with better connection and communication and trust and deeper mutual understanding of one another. And I believe this is my last one in this little series on why empathy is so critical after betrayal, and that is that it encourages personal growth and insight. So engaging in empathic reflection can lead to personal growth and insight. The betrayer may gain a deeper understanding of the underlying issues that led to the betrayal. Both individuals can explore dysfunctional past patterns from a dyadic perspective, contributing to healthier relationship dynamics moving forward. So in other words, increased empathy levels allow me to understand myself better. So then the way I show up in the relationship can be more intentional, and the whole relationship dynamic can be improved as a result.